Buongiorno and welcome to the More Way Thinking podcast, or MWOT for short, hosted by me, Lee Greeno, here live from the Man Cave every week. This week I'm speaking to the brilliant Jordan Graham. Now, Jordan has just made his debut horror film called SATOR, and what I love about Jordan's journey is it's very I can relate to it, being a filmmaker, trying to get your film off the ground, putting years of hard work into it, and he's made it pay off finally, and he's having people review his films who love it. Critics like Mr. Kermode, one of the biggest out there, just loves his film, and that's one of the highest accolades you can get. And I'm talking to Jordan about his journey to that place, and it's just a fascinating insight. Now, make sure if you listen to the podcast, it's streamed on all the usual platforms. If you just put More Way of Thinking podcast in, then you'll find it, and it'll also run YouTube as well if you want to look at this beautiful face. Now, remember to go back and look at some of the past episodes, because we've had some crackers. We had Paul Taylor Mills on just a few days ago, and he's a brilliant London producer at the theatres, at the Turbine Theatre, Battersea, and he was talking about the state of theatre and how it's going to sort of carry on after COVID. So that's a real interesting chat. Lovely guys, so make sure you listen to that. Now, My Way, I think, is all about us amazing human beings that all have a story to tell, and those stories can vary massively. But with the guests I'll be interviewing, you'll always be able to take a little bit of advice or insight into how extraordinary we can all be. Remember, there's only 4 rules: 1, no bullshitting; 2, no judging; 3, no negativity; 4, have fun. Okay, that's enough of me blabbering on. Let's have a listen. And this is me talking to the brilliant Jordan. Okay, so welcome to More Way of Thinking, and I have the brilliant Jordan Graham on here today. Woo! Welcome, Jordan.
Brilliant.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Great for speaking to you. It's funny, every time I do, I've lost my voice today. I don't know why, but every time I speak to someone who comes on the podcast, we'll speak for like 10, 15 minutes. I go, hold on, I haven't even pressed record. Press record. So we're already having a good chin wag. Yeah. Now, look, it's fantastic you came on. I really appreciate it. You're all the way in Santa Cruz, where it's in the morning. We're here in the UK. It's just gone past 6. And the funny thing is now, when I contact people for podcasts, you don't know where anyone is in the world. You know, I've spoken to people in Australia, Dubai. So it's like, oh, right, what time you on?
I know exactly. You said like GM time, which I didn't know what that was. And so I was trying to calculate it. And then in your email, you said 6 o'clock London. I'm like, okay, well that helps.
Yeah. I've had a couple of interviews where we've got the time. I'm not saying who got it wrong, but we've got the times wrong. And I'm like, oh, I thought you meant 4 o'clock this time. Oh, these things happen.
It happened once. That definitely happened once during this whole thing. But,
these things happen. But the good thing is, the main thing is, we can connect. People like me and you can connect, whereas before we couldn't. So we can't do that, can we?
Yeah, exactly.
It's great to have you on because you're a filmmaker, and I can feel some of your pain. So we can talk all about that, which is great. But first of all, I always like to touch on where the person's from. And because this is quite a scary story, SATOR, I noticed there's quite a few scary stories about Santa Cruz. So what I wanted to do is ask you about them, and then you can tell me whether it's true or it's complete bullshit. Okay? Now, the first one is in Santa Cruz. There's a mystery spot, which is a tourist attraction in the Redwood Forest of Santa Cruz, and it plays on Earth's magnetic field. The Earth's magnetic field is so off, balls roll up instead of down, and the buildings are lopsided. There's a weird gravitational pull that makes it hard to walk. Is this true?
I mean, like the mystery spots, like that's something I used to go to when I was a little kid. I mean, it's not far. It's only about like 10 minutes away from where I live. But I don't know about the gravitational pull. It's optical illusion. So like the house fell down off the hill and it's half sideways, and so balls, they have like this like, from what I remember, is I haven't been there in like 20 years, but like there was like this like pipe thing, and then they put a ball on there, and the ball would roll up and down. But since your vision is skewed, I guess. So it looks like it's going like this and it looks like it's going up, but I feel like it's just, and then, in the actual house itself, it'll look like you are standing like that, but it's just because the house is sideways. But I mean, it could, I don't feel like there's any supernatural thing going on. But,
well, you should just lie anyway. It'll bring you more viewers to your film. So something strange going on in that forest. Okay.
Oh, the forest, yeah. Oh, I mean, the forest, sure, maybe. I don't know. But I didn't show anywhere in the mystery spot though. But anyways.
Now, this is one. Santa Cruz, located off the beautiful Monterey Bay, as one of the deepest ocean trenches in the world, which means there's a lot of sea creatures in there. In 2007, a fisherman began to realise there was a lack of fish in the water. It turns out El Diablo Rojo, which had taken hold of the waters, is a Mexican giant squid. Giant squids, native of Mexico, are rare in California, but when they're there, they're about 7 feet long and travel in packs and eat lots of fish. Did you know about this giant squid?
No, not at all.
Well, it's true. It's on Google.
No.
El Diablo.
No, I had no idea.
Okay, we'll throw that one in there.
I didn't even know there were like really deep trenches.
Apparently, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, right now, Santa Cruz means Holy Cross in Spanish. Some people say the name itself is cursed. Others say the town is cursed because it's the site of a bloody Native American battle. One said the curse seems to be living up to its expectations, that Santa Cruz will either crumble into the ocean or get destroyed by a tsunami. Have you heard anything about that?
No, but like we did have a tsunami here. Yeah. When the one hit Japan in 2011, it came all the way over here too. But like, no, I don't know any of these.
Come on,
we do have like thinking of, we have there's a lot of haunted, people talk about haunted stuff like the what's it called?
Highway 17, because I've got that here.
There's like there's an old folks home here that Sunshine Villa. Some place called Sunshine Villa. I don't know if that's in your notes. That is kind of like known as a haunted place. And my grandmother, that's a care home we put her in.
Oh, right, yeah.
But she didn't like it there. But the people weren't strange enough. She needed to be someplace with a bunch of.
They were too boring. They were just playing dominoes all day.
Seriously, yeah, it was. It was like there was just when we put her in there, she was like, "There's just a bunch of old people here," and so she was upset about that. And then we ended up putting into her place where there were veterans with their limbs missing, and then other colorful characters, and she liked that.
Oh, right, lots of stories. Yeah.
But I'm trying. Like, do you have any more of those?
Well, this is the last one because these haven't been brilliant, but this one is going to be spot on. Santa Cruz is beautiful, quaint city on the coast, but it is remote, and there are only two ways in and out of the city. The main way out is through Highway 17, which is a windy road that curves through the hills that separates Santa Cruz from San Jose. Santa Cruz reported the site of the bloody Native American battle is haunted by the ghosts of Native Americans, and it's all down to this haunting Highway 17. Accidents are common. Many people say it's because the highway's haunted. Have you heard of that?
Well, one, they're lying because there's 3 ways in the Santa Cruz. So
Google.
So that's one thing. And then also, there's 3 main ways in the Santa Cruz. There's also the roads go off into the mountains, where I was shooting the movie. And so there's ways to get around and miss all those roads as well. Right. But Highway 17 is extremely dangerous, and I've lost 2 friends on that road.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm in big accidents that happened there. Actually, at the end of SATOR, it'll say dedicated to Daniel McGuire. He that was because he got into a big accident, or he died on that.
Why is it down to speed, or is it just down to the road being
so
unsafe?
One, it's very, very windy, and you go 65 miles per hour. So it's a very it's a busy road with a lot of traffic, and you're going up and down a hill. So like where a lot of the accidents happen is mainly when you're coming from San Jose to Santa Cruz. You're going up a hill, and then as you're going down, people don't realize how fast they're going, and it starts getting really, really windy. And they have signs all over the place telling you to slow down. But I could see if you go a little bit over the speed limit there, and you're not comfortable with that road, you can mess up. And then they have like if it rains, out really quickly. I've seen cars, like I'm driving down there and I just see the skid marks on the car just completely turn something. Yeah, it's definitely not. I avoid that road. Well, I have to go on that road when I go there. But if I'm going like to San Francisco, if you know San Francisco or heard of San Francisco, you go up Highway 1 and you can take the coast all the way up there. But that's also a dangerous road.
We talked. It's something I haven't done yet, but we talked about doing San Francisco down to Los Angeles and all on the coast and all along there, which is beautiful. But some of the roads, like you say, that you've got to be careful, and especially if you're a tourist, you're on the other side of the road. You've got to be careful, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Especially where you're at. Like I went to the UK for the film, and then I went to Wales, and I was thinking about renting a car. But I mean, even just, I have to, when I'm looking to cross the street, I don't realize the car is going to be coming from the other direction. And I was there by myself, and I did not want to have somebody there with me helping me guide.
Some British roads can be crazy. Okay, well, look, we'll get rid of those. Most of them are crap. So thanks for nothing, Google. I think I'm sure we have so many, I know we have a bunch of stories, and I know there's a whole haunted thing, but those things I didn't know. I know in the forest I have actually where we shot in SATOR, there's kind of they're called lime kilns. They look like ruins that's out there in the woods. 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Oh man, was it 15 years ago? Yeah, 16 years ago. I went there and shot a short film, and one of my actors, he felt like this weird presence, and then when I look back at the footage, you could see this orb coming and floating to his head, and then you could see his head going like that. Wow. And then I showed him that footage, and the next day he's he's Native American, and he's I guess very in tune with spirits. Yeah. And so he went up back to that place with sage and burnt sage, and kind of like a spiritual thing, because he thought that was kind of an evil spot. And that's insane. That's the very first ruin that you kind of see in the movie. Yeah. Wow. Well, this is the thing, when you've got a horror movie out, it's great to talk about stories like that, isn't it? Yeah. It catches people's imagination. Now, before we get on to SATOR, always ask people obviously you grew up in Santa Cruz. Where did the spark for filmmaking begin? Was it the classic at school and you picked up a camera? Tell us a little bit about how you got the spark.
Similar kind of, well, how it started for me is I was in Tucson, Arizona. So in Arizona, and my cousin, I was visiting family out there. So my cousin was living out there. And one of my older cousins was making, at the time I was 13 years old. So one of my older cousins was in high school making a short film for a class project. And I was watching them film, oh, this is really cool. I want to do my own thing. And so my younger cousin I asked him like, oh, let's go make something. So we went and we went around his house and grabbed a bunch of props, and like there was a monkey mask, and you can see that in SATOR as well. Sorry, my cat is like just
Hey.
So there's in SATOR, you can see hanging up on in the cabin, there's a picture frame with a cardboard monkey mask. So that was my very first prop. And what we did when I was 13 years old, we went out to the desert one evening, made a one-shot horror film about an evil monkey, and with this mask, and he just holds it up like that. And when we were done that evening, I showed it to my family. And there was a pop out in there that made my aunt jump, and I was like, that is so cool, what a great effect. And after that, then I was like, this is what I want to do. So that's how that was my introduction to it. And then in high school, we had high school rallies. So the whole school would get together in the gymnasium, and people would put on shows or whatnot, and I would make videos for that. So people got to know me through these rally videos. And in senior year, I was voted most likely to be famous.
Ooh.
And, the accomplishment. So did you go to film school or anything like that, Jordan? No film school, no. But it was I was thinking about it, but it was going to be. So I had a friend that was a year ahead of me in high school, and he went to film school. And the year that I graduated, he got out of it, and he said that it was a waste of money. He said he only went to, like, it was a 2-year course, and he went for 1 quarter, and it cost him $30,000.
Yeah.
And then he said that like the biggest thing that he learned was wrapping chords, and that you have to just go out there and make your own film. And so he told me that the year I got out of high school. And so then that's when I made the decision, being like, okay, well, I'm going to just try making films. I don't know if that was the right choice. I mean, that was 16 years ago that I got out of high school. So
yeah,
I mean, I'm trying ever since.
I mean, the thing is, I hear a lot of people, filmmakers that haven't been to film school, but I've never heard any that have been to film school and said it was the best thing they ever did. Everyone always says the same thing, that when they actually experience making films, whether it's short films or just doing running or whatever, they always seem to say that is the best experience they ever had.
Yeah, I imagine, like film school, I would imagine, well, they wouldn't teach me my art of this, that's for sure. But as far as like, could I have moved quicker as far as meeting contacts and connections? And so I'm not going to say to anybody, don't go to film school.
No. But if it costs $30,000, you might want to think
$30,000 for 1 quarter. So it was very, very expensive. And you can just put that towards a film, I guess. But
who knows? Now, so you start off making films, short films, having a mess around. Then you made, in 2009, you made a short film called Midground, didn't you? Was that your first sort of go at doing your own short?
That was supposed to be a feature, and that's when it finished. So that was actually when that guy told me that you should just go out there and make something. That was the first thing that I went to make. So it was supposed to be a feature film. That was a miserable time because we didn't have a script really. We were kind of going as we were going along. What I did with SATOR, maybe that's just like a routine that I have, but I'm just getting that. But I'm not doing that anymore in the future. But so I spent 3 years making that film, and it was a mess. Like, so when I was growing up making projects, I was doing a lot of parodies, and I was really starting to get good at, well, not good, but I loved making action films and sword fights and I was doing wire work at at 17 years old. We'd go out in the forest and hook up a wire and put it in the trees, and you could pull it and it would fly up in the air and stuff like that. So we were doing all sorts of stuff like that. So then when I was trying to make something a little bit more serious, I still had the action sense in me.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of kind of like weird actiony things going on, but also I'm in my early teens, so I'm very melodramatic then. So then there's also a lot of melodrama, which was not great at all. But then there's this middle section of stuff where it's very real and very gritty and about teenagers, and that stuff I love. And still to this day, I feel like it's really, there's some great segments in there. So one day I might go back and make little tiny like 5-minute short films of different segments of that and post those somewhere, because there's some stuff in there that's great, but most of it's just garbage and kind of a mess. So that took me quite a while. And
that's part of, for me, that's part of learning. I've done plenty of short films, and as long as you can take those little bits, I know, I've done short films and they're not perfect, but there's those little bits that you can take away. I think, oh, that was really good. I really enjoyed that. And then hopefully you carry it on to your next film and your next film. But what interests me is when you looked at Midground, you went straight in for a feature. I'm surprised you didn't try and do a few shorts first. What made you do?
SATOR. I'm sorry. We're going to the spectrum now, but Midground.
Yeah.
Well, I did. I was doing short films since I was 13 years old, and I made Midground I started making Midground at 18 or 19. So that's already quite a few years of making a ton of short films.
Right.
And actually, for Midground, I did make a short film first for that. It was a 5-minute something. And then when that guy came back from film school, he liked that short film, and so we just expanded upon it. So that's kind of where that went. And it was a lot of learning. And I thought by the end of that, I knew who I was as a filmmaker, which I definitely didn't. I feel like I learned that by the end of SATOR, and I'm still kind of, we'll see. But so then, after Midground.
So Spectre's your first, would you say that's your first?
Spectre's my first on my resume. That's not my, SATOR is my first film. Like, that's the film that I want people to see. I don't want people going back before this. And like, even in time, if I start, like, I'm already feeling like I've moved past SATOR and do much better, and I'll probably start really disliking it in a few years, but still it doesn't matter. Like, I put so much love and care into that film. That's what, even if I don't like it in 10 years or whatever, I won't mind people going back and seeing that. But Spectre was a film that I went in not taking it seriously. And it was a lovely experience. I really enjoyed making it, but it was for all the wrong reasons. So my friend, the one with the beard, the one that we burnt the beard in the film. So he's been my friend since 13. He's been in all my stuff since 13. And when he graduated college, he got a business degree. He didn't know what to do with it. And he's like, let's go into, and I wasn't working really on anything. And so we got into wedding videography together.
Oh, okay.
And then he bought all this gear. And as soon as he bought this gear, I was like, oh, I want to make a feature film, or just make a film. I just want to go out there and make something. And it's going to be a found footage. It's going to be dumb. Like, I'm not expecting anybody to really see it. Just want to have fun with my friends. And just like, it was just kind of a quick, it wasn't a quick making it, but it was just kind of a quick like decision. Let's just go do this. And then that's when I was mentioning the tsunami, that was the first day of shooting. We went and shot some of that tsunami stuff. And so like that one also, I spent a week like writing the script.
Yeah.
And then we just went out and shot stuff. And it has everything that I dislike in filmmaking, as far as dialogue, mainly like this exposition-y dialogue, and just a lot of cheap scares, and it's just things that I was just doing as it was supposed to be just fun. And then while I was making it, I made a trailer, put a trailer out there that got attention from sales agents, and then the sales agent was like, I'd like to sell this thing. I'm like, oh, if I can make some money off this, great. So then I finished it and put more effort into finishing it.
Yeah.
So that's why that also took me about 3 years, because I was trying to get this thing that I wasn't liking as best as I could with what I had.
Yeah.
And then they put the film out, and I didn't like, I was basically telling them, like, you could put it out there. I don't want to talk about it. I just,
You're sick of it. You're sick of it.
Yeah. I really like, yeah. So
what I like about the film is, from a filmmaker's perspective, we talked before the podcast, and I understand some of the pain you've been through, and I understand that myself. It's all about the passion. What I love about the film is, there's a few things.
Are you talking about Spectre?
Pardon?
Are you talking about Spectre or SATOR?
SATOR.
Okay, cool. Okay.
SATOR. Okay, yeah, don't worry. But what I love about SATOR is that one is it's not heavy on dialogue, because I know you just said about dialogue, and it's not. And one thing I get when people send me scripts, or I've looked at scripts, is it's very heavy in dialogue. And I always say you don't need that dialogue if you can film it correctly. And the other thing what I like about it is the editing, because I understand to get those shots to fit perfectly so that it doesn't throw you out of the story is such a skill. Because I edit all my own stuff, and I understand. And what you've done with SATOR is there's so many different segments to edit together. I can understand how many hours you spent on it, but I think it's... Well,
I was editing as I was going along, so that was, I didn't have, for SATOR, I didn't have a specific just editing segment. I did for everything else in post-production, but editing, because since I was shooting myself, and I was shooting, putting it on the computer, messing with it, going back and shooting some more. I'm very, like, I was trying to put you, since the film is different and it's slower pace, but I'm trying to put you in like a dreamy type of mood. And that goes with every aspect of the visuals, with, well, every part of it, I guess, but like the way I shoot it, the camera barely moves. It's very smooth, or static, and or I'll put it on a dolly and follow the characters and keep the shots. So that's one way. And then with editing, I keep the shots going on a little bit longer. I don't do a lot of quick cuts. There's a couple scenes in there that do have a couple quick cuts. One is the beard burning thing, the scene, and then the other one is where Evie is running and she gets flown up into the tree. So there's a couple quick cuts there, but rest of the time it's more
and I like that.
You in this dreamy
and that's the other thing I like is your cuts. Like you say, there's a lot of filmmakers, and you see it a lot now in a lot of Hollywood films. There's so many quick cuts. It's so frustrating. It's all the time. It's relentless. So when you see a film and it lets it play out, and you can hang on a little and just take your breath and enjoy the scene, it's just
setting
nice.
up. Instead of, like, what I see in a lot of films these days, which is getting me really, really bored, is just quick over the shoulder handheld shots, and just handheld. And it feels like a lot of films are not taking the time these days to, well, at least during COVID, I don't know, maybe all the really good ones are in like hiding right now, but it's just, I'm noticing a lot
of numbers, isn't it? Really, there's no, you feel like there's no real creativity gone into it. It's like, right, we'll do a mid shot here, we'll cut to there,
that's what I've been feeling like. Even with trailers these days, watching movie trailers, I'll get bored and turn them off halfway through, because I can just see, it's like, this is not gonna, I'm not trying to be like all high and mighty or whatever, but like, that's just for my enjoyment. I want something that's gonna be a little bit the story needs, and that's the other thing. It's like I'm seeing the same, like in the trailers, it's all they all say the same dialogue. We're in a war, and
Yeah, I
my name
watched
is this, and
I watched a stunning film last week called Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Have you seen it?
oh, I loved it. Oh man,
What
that
a
movie.
film.
I forgot about that movie this year. So that. Oh
Oh,
no, but that came out last year, right?
yeah, it came out last year. What a
Okay,
film.
so that would have
And
been
that
my favorite
again,
movie of years.
yeah, and that you watch that, and as a filmmaker, you just think this filmmaker's not scared to cut. It just
No.
sits there. The acting's beautiful.
Yeah.
What a film.
Oh
Love
yeah. That movie was excellent. But it did take me. The problem with these slower movies, like SATOR, it takes a little bit to get into them.
Yeah.
So with later Portrait on Fire, like I was like, okay, I'm not into this quite yet. But then it just, but then after it hooked into me, those scenes that I wasn't really into at the beginning, like they had to be there that way. Cause
and that's the thing about today's viewing audience. I think sometimes because we're such a consuming world, not saying anything against my wife, but if she watched that, she wouldn't be able to keep up with it, because after 10 minutes she'd be bored, because everyone wants something straight away. Yeah. Whereas I like it where you just trust the film, and stick with it, and let you know.
That's how I feel. And I'm almost like I get bored really quick with action sequences these days. Like I'll get bored. Those bore me more than anything else, really. I'll just unless it's really well choreographed. It's interesting. I've been finding myself just discouraged in films that are coming out because it's just they just don't seem. They all seem the same a lot of the times. And again, this could be COVID world, and that's just the films that they're putting out.
Now, just to go back to the start of SATOR, obviously you had this idea in your mind, you'd wrote it. Same old story, same for all us indie filmmakers that are trying to make it. We want to try and find a producer, we want to try and get investment, someone that's going to get involved. So difficult, networking, so difficult, especially on your first feature, your debut. What interests me, I read that you and your mate just raised a bit of money and just went out there and just did it yourselves, which I love. Is that how it happened?
With SATOR?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was raising money was as with all filmmakers, especially when you don't have a resume that you're proud of or to go off of. Really, it was really hard getting any sort of money. Yeah, so I tried doing a crowdfunding campaign. Yeah, and that failed horribly. I put a lot of time putting it together and making sure in Santa Cruz. We have something called the Good Times newspaper. So I was able to convince, and it gets a lot. It's in our Bay Area, so it gets to San Francisco. I'm pretty sure it gets to San Francisco and like San Jose. So it gets a lot of like viewer or eyes on it. And so I convinced them to get me on the cover of it. And that was going to release the day that my crowdfunding campaign was going to release. And then I bought a whole bunch of about 2,000 high quality flyers that I would put on people's doors. And so when the day it released, I walked all across Santa Cruz and hung them up. Yeah. And then when it came time, when it released, I didn't raise one penny off of it. No, and the only people that put in were the people I went to and asked personally to put in.
It's so
no one gave me. So I was not in a great spot there. And then the one thing that Good Times newspaper did do was have people reach out to me, local filmmakers in my area reach out to me, and they're like, we want to give you advice on how to move forward. And I was excited. So it's like, great, I would love the advice. That's something that I've always really wanted, was to work with filmmakers or be in a world with filmmakers where they're either at my level or they know a lot more than me, so I can learn off them. But in my bubble of people, I have one friend that is into films. And then as far as people that make films, I'm always educating. and I don't want to be the educator. I'd love to collaborate, right? And learn off of. Where was I getting at? There was a purpose for that.
We're on about getting the investment together.
Oh yeah. So these people, they were like, these filmmakers are like, we want to give you advice on how to move forward. And I'm just like, great, this is perfect. We could, like, finally I'm meeting some people. And so I met up with them at different times, and their advice was talking down to me and telling me that, you can't make a film of quality unless you have this and this and this and this. And I'm just like, dude, like, did you not see that my Kickstarter failed, and I didn't do, it was Indiegogo. My crowdfunding campaign failed, and I have no money to get what you are saying. And so then I was in a really bad place. And so at that moment I was like, okay, if I ever get funding for this film, I'm doing it myself to prove to them and to other filmmakers that you don't need all the bells and whistles and everything to make a film of quality. I mean, I'd had no pre-existing gear before the movie. All the gear before that, I was using my friend's wedding videography stuff. So, but then when I saved some money through wedding videography, and I went to a pub where you're from, right? And I was having a beer with a friend, and he told me that he would give me loan me half the budget for some back end of the film, and I was just like, oh my God, I can actually get started on this thing, because it's been like a year and a half process, I think, because I was writing, gathering props, and trying to figure out funding for a year and a half before I made the film. And so it was like, wow, I can actually get started on this thing now. So he gave me that half that budget, and then I pulled out the rest out of my savings, and then I started purchasing all the gear. And it was very important for me to buy all the gear for the film, because no one else is going to work with me. I had no schedule. I had nobody else. Like, I don't have anybody to make a film for except for myself at this moment. So and since I was doing it myself, I don't want to be rushed, and I want to take the time. I want to make sure I wait for the right weather conditions. And so I decided to buy all the gear. I was thinking about renting, and I'm so glad I didn't, because one, that would have been rushed, and it would not have worked the way, because I could only do one lighting setup a day.
Yeah.
Or else I'd get too scattered.
Yeah.
So, but sorry.
There's something quite freeing about that, though, as well, which I can relate to, because when I did my feature, it was off the back end of waiting on another film. It never happened, and I just thought, fuck it, I'm gonna make my own film, similar to you. And there's something quite freeing when, yes, you haven't got much money, but it's down to your control. So like, there were scenes in my film that I wanted to have where a producer would never let me have it. And I just turned around and thought, yeah, I am going to have, I want this woman just randomly dancing. I'm going to put it in. I want this violence here. I'm going to put it in. If I want this quiet bit where not much is happening, I'll put it in. So even though it's quite freeing, isn't it? It's quite nice when it's your project. You haven't got no one telling you what you've got to do, and you live or die by the sword. So if it works, great. It's on your head, and if it doesn't, it's on your head. But at least
that's the waste of 7 years of your life.
Well, yeah, there is that, isn't there? Yeah. But yeah, you know what I mean, though. It's quite freeing, isn't it, to be able to do that?
Yeah, I'm just so used to it. It's not any different than I've always been doing stuff by myself. So it's not really any different. I'm done doing it. I'm ready to work on.
That might change now. That might change if you get.
I'm not doing it again. So it better, or that's SATOR's the last film I'm making.
It is.
I don't want to. I have some scripts and I have some stories that I want to tell and I'm excited I'm really excited for them. So I hope I can get some people in.
Now, what interests me is the making of the film. So there's a couple of things that interest me. Obviously, there's the story with your grandmother, which is a fantastic story. So I'd like to know about that. And then the other thing is the locations, because the locations were great. And if you're doing it tell us a little bit about that.
The locations. Okay. Well, it's in Santa Cruz, and I don't live in the mountains, but I know those mountains really well. So I spent a lot of time up there, and Michael, the one with the beard, he
Oh,
grew up. He grew up in those mountains, someplace called Bonnie Doon, and so I was just always up there. So, and I needed the forest for this film, and I went out and started location scouting and finding, because I'm not just gonna go out in the forest and just go find some random trees. Like every place had to
yeah, fit.
have some interesting characteristics in there. And the reason why they look is, well, I guess getting that later.
I mean, you say about Wales, but it's like when I go to Wales, you'll go into woodland and you think, wow, what that could be a great character in a film, but you can't just randomly shoot. You have to know, you have to plan it right.
Yeah, and that's exactly what. So I did do that once. I did the very first day. Actually, I went into we did that. We went in, and it was the scene or the shot where the main character is sitting down, and you can see the dog running past him.
Yeah.
And it's only one shot in there, and so but it was only a close up, because the wide shots, there was no characteristics of any. I mean, it wasn't interesting, and all you're just seeing is just brown and like twigs and like just little. It almost looks like little pixels of crap. Nothing really to look at. So I definitely went around and found things that were interesting. Also, I was very particular about lighting.
Yeah.
In those scenes, because I'm so used to working on shitty cameras with horrible dynamic range.
Yeah.
And so you get into the forest, if there's sun coming through the forest, you get the sun that you do see, or the lights that you see, gets blown out.
Yeah.
And then all the shadows are underexposed.
Yeah.
And also, if you go out into the forest and there's sun peeking through, and if you're just looking with your own eye, not even shooting a film, you can't. You're still kind of blinded from everything. You don't get to see all the details of everything. And so, with that knowledge of that, I had the big one rule that I had was no sun coming through the trees. I didn't want any evidence of sun anywhere. So we would go out to a location sometimes and wait hours. I would see a piece of, like, if I wanted that wide shot and I see like a sun, just one sun on the road over there, we would wait until that's gone.
Yeah.
Because I wanted, and that adds with the claustrophobicness, because there's nothing coming. Nothing coming through. One, you get to see everything. It's all soft, beautiful light, and it just adds to that atmosphere.
I mean, it looks great. The film.
Thank you.
So the cabin. So tell us about the cabin then. Especially, obviously, the inside of the cabin. Was that a set, or did you build that? Or what happened?
Yeah, so I built that in my mom's backyard. It was not in the forest, so that was in a suburban area about 6 blocks away from the beach is where I built the cabin. And it was I used up almost her entire backyard. It was like a 400 square foot backyard. I used up almost every inch except for there was like a good maybe 5 feet on one side that I didn't use. And so
was that temporary? Was it a temporary structure, or?
Yeah, I mean, it lasted 2 years. I built, so I went and I leveled out the ground. I went around Santa Cruz. This was while I was writing, I gathered a whole bunch of pallets, because those things can cost, like, people will sell those for like $20 sometimes a piece. But you can also find them for free, because we used to have bonfires, and people do, but I used to go to a lot of bonfires, and you would burn these pallets, these crate things. But you can find them around town. So I needed like 25 of them or something. So I would just go around town throughout that year. And when I'd
Wow.
find some, I'd put it in my truck and stash them at my mom's house. So I leveled out the ground with that. And then the day I started building, my neighbor decided he was going to tear up his deck and build a new deck. So he gave me all that wood and I used that for the floors. My mom's fence was falling down a little bit. So I was like, do you need that fence? and so I ripped the fence down, and that was for the walls.
Are you a carpenter then, John?
No, definitely not.
Wow, you did a great job.
Thank you. I had one friend helped me build like the framing. So it took me 2 months to build the cabin. I had a friend there, like there was like 5 days where he'd help me doing stuff like keeping the structure with the framing, make sure that it stay up.
Yeah.
Like I borrowed the tools from my other neighbor so I can build everything.
That's amazing.
And then like with the fireplace and the river rocks, I went up to Santa Cruz Mountains, Blind Dune with a backpack, would climb down a hill to the river, get river rocks, put it in my bag, go up to the truck, drop it off and make that trip. I did a whole day doing that. So, and then I made that the back of the fireplace out of cement and the river rocks. And
that's pretty amazing.
But a lot of stuff was donated, so it cost me like $1,500. Didn't cost me very much.
And the good thing about that is you're in control of that set then.
Exactly.
So you can go out there every day, work your shots out, before an act.
Lighting, like again, one lighting setup a day. So they would go home, and I could just the actors would go home, and then I would just hang out in that cabin and just get the lighting how I'd kind of want it. So that was good because I did have another place that I was possibly shooting at that looked nothing like this cabin.
And the thing is as well with locations, if that was somewhere else, you'd only have so many days, you'd need permissions, you'd have to pay, it'd be a nightmare. So that is always a great thing. People don't think about locations. Location is massive, especially for indie filmmakers, people without any money. Is getting that location. I had a few locations fall through, managed to get a location at work for mine, because the last thing you need as a director is that stress of thinking, is someone going to say we can't film here tomorrow? It's so stressful. When you've got a few days and it's just yours and you can concentrate, it's a massive weight off your mind, isn't it?
Oh, no, exactly. And that's why I had it was up there for 2 years. And so, and there was a time there where because I was editing as I was going along, near the end when I was done shooting, I was still getting pickup stuff. I thought I was done in the cabin, and my mom wanted her backyard back. So she came to me. She's like, "Do you think I can get some people to come and tear this cabin down?" And I'm looking through the footage. And I'm like, I'm good. You can. And so then like an hour later or something, I'm looking through footage.
Oh no.
And I see this, it was the shot, where the hand come and grabs the door.
Great shot. Yeah.
So that original shot didn't have the hand, and I lit it too dark. So I was like, I need to reshoot this. I need to go back and reshoot this. So I go and I call my mom and I'm like, go tear down the cabin. I need this shot. She tore the whole cabin was torn down except for that nook. And even in that nook was like the shelves are already falling apart. So you can even see in that shot, the shelves are kind of like,
wow.
I had to go back and reposition it, like rebuild things. And luckily that stayed up there. And then I was like, okay, now I have this. How can I make this scene even more intense? And that's where I added the.
Yeah, that's one of the best.
That's actually my mom's hand grabbing the door.
That's one of the best shots, and it's in the trailer as well. I noticed you love that shot.
The
other thing which interests me is the actors. Now, obviously, Michael Daniel. He's brilliant in it. Love Michael. He reminded me of Jeremy Strong. You know, the guy who was in Succession and things like that. He looks like him a little bit.
I don't know. I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, he looks like him a little bit. But the other thing is, of course, your grandma. So tell us a little bit about how you got those both on board.
Oh, Okay. Well, the grandmother's a long story. I guess we got time. Michael's, like I said, with the beard, Michael's been my friend since I was 13. So he's the one I do wedding videography with, or used to. He's just been my close friend for forever. So, and he's always been acting in my stuff.
Oh, okay.
So
that was a bit of luck then, because he was great.
Yeah, no, he was. And all the actors besides my grandmother and the mother, the one that was levitating at the beginning, are all been my friends for years since, like Evie is my fiance. So like we've been together before during Spectre.
That's great, because that's one thing that can let you down is the actors. But I thought they were all professional actors, if I'm honest with you.
Well, that's very nice. No, well, that's very nice of you. Yeah, no, and Gabe, the main character, was a skateboard friend and been in acting my stuff since high school, so 15 years and stuff. I know their capabilities, and I write for their kind of for them. Like in future projects, I'm not writing with anybody in mind, which is really nice because I could just concentrate on the characters and not worrying about like, oh, I don't know if they're going to be able to handle that. Aurora was also a friend from high school. So yeah, and I told her that I would put her in my films. She's been in one in high school, and I've been telling her I'd put her in another one. So I put her in this one. My grandmother was an accident.
An accident.
It was like, since I had that cabin was great. I couldn't find anything that looked as cool as that. So I decided to use my grandmother's house as a location. And when I did that, I was like, okay, I'm going to put my grandmother in the film as a quick cameo, and do an improvisational scene with Michael, and he'll come out, pretend to be the grandson, and I'll have him talk about spirits. And if I like it, I'll put it in. If not, then that's all right. But it'd be cool to like memorialize my grandmother. So then I go over there with Michael, hide him in the back room, set up all the lights, and my grandmother's like, what is all this? Like, and then I'm like, oh, you're going to help me with a project. And she's like, oh, okay. And so then I call action, and then Michael comes out and pretends to be the grandson. That's where they met. They met on camera. And that's when she started bringing up she started talking about spirits and the voices in her head, and how they used to communicate with her through something called automatic writing. And that's where everything kind of changed, because that was something she's never shared. She never shared that with my family. I never knew about that before. So she decided to share it the day we were shooting. And so then I had to go now and figure out how I'm going to incorporate all this incorporate that. I wanted to use that.
It's funny, isn't it, how things just seem to come together. It's amazing how things just seem to come together. You know, you just run.
This film, there's some amazing coincidences. Like
it is.
SATOR, the entity of SATOR, didn't even come until post-production. Yeah. So I did the whole film without even knowing there was a SATOR. I even shot SATOR in the film with the ram skull. Yeah. I shot SATOR and had no idea that was going to be SATOR when I was in post-production. Like some of the luck with that. Yeah.
But that is an amazing story that you got her in, and she suffered. Did she suffer with dementia in the end?
In the end, yes.
Yeah.
So that was. I mean, she believed in SATOR. SATOR's been a part of my life since. Her life since 1968. He came to her through a Ouija board, and ended up becoming obsessed with him. And then 3 months later, she ended up in a psychiatric hospital because of it. And then all the voices in the head were generational with her grandmother. So my great grandmother had voices in her head and was also in a psychiatric hospital. My great grandmother, her mom, had voices in her head and put a shotgun in her mouth. And then my grandmother found SATOR when she was 40 and ended up in a psychiatric hospital herself. So yeah, it was and I learned all this while making the film. So that was it was. I learned a lot about my family during
Truth is stranger than fiction, isn't it, mate? It's pretty crazy how things together. And some people will say, oh, it's down to, certain things are down to luck, but I always find it's not. It's down to people's hard work and perseverance, which you've had. And then luck sort of shows itself up, but it's not luck really. It's you working to a goal and these things coming in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I put in a ton of work. They were definitely the lucky stuff was really impactful though. Like my grandmother being in there with that was just luck. At that time, getting my budget at the right time, having my grandmother, I couldn't have made the film a month later. Like I wouldn't have got any of that with my grandmother. And then dementia took over, and the last day I shot with her, just trying to get her to talk about SATOR, she was like almost white from her mind. So it was just with that. And then like with the weather conditions too, like that snow wasn't supposed to be like that. That was our last day of shooting, or that was not last day of shooting. That was near the end of shooting, and at the end of winter. We already went up there once, and that's where I got that beautiful shot of the opening of the snow, that very beautiful shot. But I really wanted snow falling and snow on the trees. And so we went home that day, and then like a couple months, I'm looking at the weather, and a couple months go by, and we only have, I see one day where it's like, okay, we're going to possibly get some snow. It's a 3-hour drive there. This was in Yosemite Valley. So it's like, okay, we're going to get maybe 20% chance of snow. And if it does snow, it's only going to snow like that much. And the first day, the day that it didn't snow, it was supposed to be 80% chance snow and supposed to be a whole bunch. We didn't get any. So I'm just like, but now since I got that beautiful, I have that beautiful shot, I want to have snow now in this film. I just need it on the ground now. So we just got to go up there. And so, because it said what I told you with the snow, and then nothing but sun after that. And we're at the end of winter, and it's like, okay, this is it. So we get up, and I couldn't afford a hotel that time. So we get up at 2:00 in the morning, drive out there, and it's just snowing and snowing and snowing and snowing. And it did that the whole day. So we got the shots, and we drove back home. So, yeah.
Well, it's a great story. What I love, I love the film, and I just love the story behind it from an indie film point of view. I just love the fact that it was all your hard work and graft, which I totally understand because I go through it myself, and I just think. But then when I see people like you, it's great for other filmmakers. What you've done is great for other filmmakers to see how well it's done. And it's also obviously put it in some festivals, and it just seems to be getting out there. It's over the UK now. It's released on Amazon, and
and you have physical release. Physical. What day is it? Oh no, you get physical release in 2 days.
Yeah, so DVD in 2 days, and then I think it was released.
Nice. We don't even have that yet. I just got word today that we're getting it soon in the United States. But
so to get all that, the sales and distribution of something from your hard work must be really fulfilling. Now, if you were to give any advice to someone who's thinking about being as silly as a filmmaker, what sort of advice do you think you could give them, Jordan? Don't do it.
You would have to. Don't do it. Oh yeah. Don't. Well, yeah. Don't make a film by yourself. That's for sure. Especially if you're kind of like, where I'm at now, where I started making SATOR when I was 14 years within trying to make films, and I now have like a certain like standard of how I want things to look, and so and look and sound, and if you decide to do that yourself, it's going to take a lot longer to get that quality. So make them when you're just starting out. Make as many as you can. You can make them by yourself because your standards are going to be really low at that point, and you'll get things done really, really quickly. So that's one. Another one, yeah, I guess if you're starting out, make a ton of stuff. This is one thing that I see a lot of with new filmmakers is don't get it too in your head or get a big head right away, because what I see with filmmakers in my mainly in my area, they will just decide they're going to get into filmmaking, and they will shoot something, and they will edit together, and they'll be so excited that they actually put it in the computer and edited 2 clips together, and then all of a sudden they feel like they're extremely knowledgeable in the craft. And I've even seen people that they've only been shooting for 2 months, and they're already doing tutorial videos on how to do cinema. Yeah. So it's just like, don't take your time and learn this, because it takes a while. You're not gonna, I still don't even know if I feel like I've learned my style, but I'm 21 years into it now, and I'm still like, I don't know quite yet, because I feel like I did after 6 years. No, okay, I did after 8 years. No, I still don't know what I'm doing, or don't have like my aesthetic yet, or my style. So that's that one. Another one would be, if you're in the same situation as I was with SATOR, where you're not relying on anybody else, it's just your time mainly. Again, I guess the actors' times, is take your time to make the film and make it right. Like, don't. I took my time with the weather, and I took my time with the audio. If you're trying to make a name for yourself, like, what are you rushing for, really? I could be completely wrong. I bet there's people that are going to be watching this being like,
"Hey, look,
it's just my experience."
Yeah, at the end of the day, you've made a feature film, and that's a lot more than a lot of other people have done. So, very, very good advice, Jordan. And then finally, I always ask people for a favourite. It can be a film or a book. Do you have some kind of favourite film or book that you'd tell people to watch?
I can give you, like, I don't know, maybe a top 5 of favorite films, but not in any order. Like,
horror. Have you got any horror in there?
Okay, Eraserhead.
Yeah.
And Killing of the Sacred Deer.
Oh, great film. Yeah.
So if that's in the horror realm, yeah, I guess we could leave it there. I love those 2 films.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my my Blu-ray collection, just trying to look and see what,
the problem is with picking a film, it's like picking children, ain't it? People ask me, and I'm like, it depends what you were doing at the time, what mood you were in.
And I become obsessed with certain films at certain times, but it's like, is that my favorite film of all time? I love it right now, but then I have to think, like, No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood, The Master.
Yeah. Great film.
Godfather. Just trying to think of things that, like, have stuck with me for so long that I keep going. It's the films I just keep going back and watching again. So that's definitely those. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Most stuff from Kubrick, actually.
Yeah.
That's cool. And yeah, I don't know. That's
fine.
Always watch.
That's plenty to watch. If people haven't seen any of those films, I could recommend them. They're all, brilliant films. It's funny because my son now, he's getting to the age, he's 19 now, and he's really into
wow, congratulations.
He's into films because I love films.
Cool. Yeah.
And he'll say to me, "Oh, have you heard about this film?" And I'll say, "Well, what's it called?" And he'll say, "Oh, There Will Be Blood. Is it any good?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, you've not seen that yet?" He said to me, The Departed the other week. It's like, The Departed. I was like, "What?" And he's like, so he's in this beautiful stage of being able to see these amazing films.
No, it's cool. For the first time. That's almost like the last. Those were what you just said. Those 2. Well, I know with There Will Be Blood, that was kind of like the last hurrah with actual film. Yeah, because they started getting into digital really shortly after that. Because what was it? Actually, right after that was Slumdog Millionaire, and that was the first digital movie to win a cinematography at the Oscars. So then that came to digital realm. But I unfortunately didn't get to see There Will Be Blood in theaters. I really wanted to.
So good. Well, look, It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Jordan. If people want to see the film, so it's on Amazon Prime. It gets released DVD from in 2 days' time, did you say?
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I thought they said the 25th of this month of February.
And if people, have you got an Instagram for it or a Twitter or anything?
I have my Instagram.
Yeah.
So that's at Jordan Graham Film.
Okay, brilliant.
And I'm always on there. I don't post very often because I'm always trying to post like my artsy photos and stuff. So,
there's some great photos on there, actually. I had a look. There's some great photos on there. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Jordan. I absolutely love the film, and I'm really excited on what you get up to next because, you know,
yeah,
I
mean, we'll see. I have a really dark one, a really heavy dark one, which I don't know. I feel like I'll need to come to like the UK or something to get money from them.
Yes, come over. I'll take you out. I'll take you for a coffee, and we'll try.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. Yeah,
we'll try and find someone.
But yeah, that film might be a little bit difficult to get financing in the United States. That one has to do with I was inspired by the child abductions that went on around Belgium in the 90s. So there's a guy named Mark Dutroux. The film's not anywhere about him at all, but he was a guy that kidnapped children and just the rabbit hole that you can go down there got me interested in it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then another one that I'm writing right now is not nearly as dark. It's and it's about an impossibly long shipping container that has like a cosmic horror type feel to it. So
cool.
Those are the one's written. The other one I'm writing right now. I'm trying to get it done as quick as I possibly can.
That's good. That's good that you keep writing. I'm the same. I always try and keep writing, keep material coming in. A lot of people say they have one film and it's like have other material because you'll always need more material.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's why like COVID, everything kind of slowed down. So it's like I'm going to use this time to write as much as I can, and then when it ends and when SATOR releases, which is already released, I wish I had the second one done already, but I've been working on it for like 7 months now, and then had to start over and do it again. But I want to, when things start opening up again, I want to be able to be like, well, now I have a couple scripts ready to go.
No, that's great news. Well, look, make sure you come back on the show in a year's time when you've no doubt got your next project, and if you do come over,
I'd love to. Hopefully, it doesn't take 7 years. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Well, look, thanks ever so much for coming on, Jordan. I really appreciate your time, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay.
Great.
All right. Take care, Jordan. So that's it. Thanks again to Jordan for joining me today, and also to you for listening. Make sure you follow the podcast because coming over the next months, there are, trust me, some amazing interviews. The podcast will be streaming on the usual platforms, including iTunes and Spotify, so please leave a rating on there and subscribe. And to keep up to date on social media, Facebook is My Way Thinking Podcast, Instagram is My What Podcast, and Twitter is My Way Thinking with that G on the end of 3 instead. Why couldn't I just have one thing? I don't know. I like to keep it complicated. Keep you on your toes. Okay, every week I put the whole conversation on YouTube. If you put My Way Thinking Podcast in, if you want to see my beard. And finally, if you want to get in touch or you think you may be a great guest, or know someone that's got a great story to tell, then email me. It's mywhatpodcast@aol.com. Thanks ever so much for listening. Until next time, God bless. Bye.